हम लोग अकेले आपका काम कर रहे हैं, इन्वेस्टिगेटिव एजेंसीज का काम कर रहे हैं, जुडिशरी का भी थोड़ा सा हो रहा है. तो रियलिटी हिंदुस्तान की ये है.
So he says the reality of India is that that the opposition is now tasked, or they have taken upon themselves to do the task of the media and the judiciary also, because they seem to have lost faith in that.
Well, I don't want to join issue with the leader of the opposition, because that's not the ambit of what we are here to speak. But what I want to say is this, that people should not presume that the judiciary should be performing the role of the opposition in parliament or the state legislatures. Too often there's a misconception that the judiciary has to play the role of the opposition in legislatures, which is not so. We are here to scrutinize laws. We are entrusted with the duty to scrutinize executive action on whether it is consistent with the law, whether it is consistent with the constitution. There's a different space in a democracy for the political opposition. And what people try to do is to use the judiciary and to shoot from the shoulders of the judiciary and to try and convert the court into a space for the political opposition. That is not the role of the court.
So the Maharashtra elections have just taken place, and the UBT Sena, they seem to say that history, and they have said this several times since, that history will not forgive Justice Chandrachud for the delay in giving the judgment and allowing the hijack of the party that it happened. It's the decision that was taken. He allowed, because of his judgment, this unfairness of people breaking away from the party, forming another government, and then so in delay and the judgment that you gave.
Well, my answer is very simple. You point out to us that we are not working even for a minute of the time that we are assigned to do our work, and such a criticism would be valid. Throughout this year, we were dealing with seminal constitutional cases, 9 judge bench decisions, 7 judge bench decisions, 5 judge bench decisions. Now, should any one party or individual decide what case the Supreme Court should hear? Sorry, that choice is for the Chief Justice. That these are, if you don't take up old cases, you are told, well, cases are languishing before the Supreme Court for 20 years. Important constitutional cases are pending before the Supreme Court for 20 years. Why is the Supreme Court not taking up these 20-year-old cases and dealing with some recent case? And then if you take up old cases, then you are told that, well, but you didn't take up this particular case. Well, you have limited manpower, and you have a given complement of judges. You have to draw the balance ultimately.
I don't want to take up cudgels on behalf of any political party, but like what the UBT says is that, I mean, it is one of our largest states. It is the richest state in the country. This is where the financial capital is located. And political instability to a large extent, and they just keep saying they lost the election, yes, but they feel that that it broke the back of a major political party, the delay in your decision.
You see, this is the problem. The real problem is this, that a given segment of the polity feels that, well, you're independent if you follow my agenda.
Yeah.
That, you pursue my agenda, which is inclusive of cases which I think you should be deciding. We decided electoral bonds. Was that any less important?
Yeah.
It was a matter which dealt with the foundational structure.
Are you happy with that decision?
I'll come back to that in a moment.
Yeah.
We decided electoral bonds. That's one. We decided recently the Aligarh Muslim University case, the closure of the madrasas under an order of the Allahabad High Court. We have dealt with issues pertaining to the disability rights of individuals. Okay. Is disability in any way less significant than any of these cases that we are referring to? We have decided critical issues pertaining to the federal structure. This year, and these are all cases which we have decided this year, we decided the constitutional validity of Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, which gave citizenship to certain people who had migrated from Bangladesh prior to 25th of March, not CA, who had migrated prior to 25th of March 1971.
Okay.
Was that less significant? We dealt with a case on whether a constitution bench case on whether lakhs and lakhs of individuals belonging to not the highest strata of society, but the lower strata of society. The question was whether a person who has a license to drive a light motor vehicle can drive a transport vehicle below 7,500 kgs. Now, that would have affected the livelihoods of lakhs of people. We delivered judgment on that just before my term came to an end. Are these cases that we have decided? In fact, we decided 38 constitution bench references during my tenure, including this year itself. Are these cases any less significant than a particular case which we didn't decide or we couldn't decide?
Article
Well,
370, that also was.
Yes, yes, that's right. That we decided last year, but I'm talking of the cases we decided this very year. Now, the cases which we decided this year, any of these cases which I have referred to earlier, are these cases less significant? Or do we then follow an agenda which others set for us that, well, you have to decide this case for me today. If you don't decide my case, then, well, you're not independent. This is something which is unacceptable. And the real problem today is this, and that's why, I must say this. It's because we have refused during my tenure as a Chief Justice. We have refused to be dictated by any third party on which cases to decide. Sometimes, very highly resourced persons come to the court and they try and suborn the system by saying, well, my case should be heard first. And this was a matter of concern to me as Chief Justice. Should we be listening to those cases only because the most resourced in terms of lawyers, in terms of the clients whom they represent, come to court and say, well, hear my case first? Sorry, we're not going to give that priority to people who are merely because they have resource and they have the ability to afford the best in terms of legal representation. When you sort of take cudgels for the system, for the ordinary Indian, and say this is not going to be how the court will work, obviously there's going to be a backlash.